It gaff till a gaff. It gaff till a gaff. I'm illy with the till a gaff. Illy with the till a gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff. Knit gaff, knit gaff.
Yo, welcome and good evening. This is the Grand Legato Papa Lifestyle Channel podcast, and this is a free thinking, the podcast for. Actually, I can't even tell you this podcast is for because I haven't got my list because I'm moving house and that little list is packed away in a box somewhere. But it ends with generally cool motherfuckers, and I hope you're one of those. So today I'm just gonna have a quick rant. Actually, this is gonna be a bit unusual because first I recorded this podcast at midnight. I've never really done this before. Secondly, I've had a couple of drinks. I ain't like bladdered or nothing. I've had 2 glasses of wine. Quite quite civilized. 2 glasses of red wine, 2 glasses of 2 coppers of Tinto. So but I thought I'd try this out. I was really kind of thinking of doing a drink champs thing because I'm a big Nori fan. Like, getting absolutely bladdered during a podcast. And to be honest with you, my inspiration for that is one of the reasons I did podcasts. And I'm sorry if you think this is shit. If you think it's shit, then I strongly suggest you stop listening to it. But I was researching podcasts, and I really should have kept a note of it because I actually I found this podcast, man, and there was this girl, man, and she, a young woman, and she had like a cold, like a head flu. So she did this podcast. It was like, so it's just not feeling good. I got this head flu, but I want to do this podcast. And I ain't playing. She did the whole podcast like that. Like, I don't think she had a head flu. I think she was high as fuck. So I figured, how bad could I be compared to some of this shit out there? And I enjoy doing them, man. They're very cathartic, you know what I mean? So I was thinking doing like a drink champs, like be like drunk as fuck. And do a podcast. And I'm already telling that, without a doubt, the glass of wine has freed me up a little bit. First thing I've noticed in this first 2 minutes of this podcast is I haven't said every 30 seconds. So that's a good start. So anyway, today, and another thing I'm gonna say real quickly, podcasting is funny. Some days, like, you wake up with absolutely no ideas, or lots of days, and then you have a morning when you wake up and this stuff's just flooding out of you. But I've well known that for a long time, but that's just a creative process. And I don't know why I thought podcasting would be any different, So this morning was one of the mornings where I woke up with like 3 or 4 ideas for podcasts. And since it's late at night and, it was my last night in the old house, I figured I would just throw one down, see how it is to record one at night, see how it's to record one with a little bit of lubrication, a little bit of the old amber nectar. Well, it isn't actually amber, it's the wine, but you know what I'm saying. So, so this is the podcast, and this one I'm going to do is called What Goes Up. Since the intro took 3 minutes, I think I'm fucked if I'm going to do this in 7, but I still like to ring the bell. Let's ring the bell. What goes up? Okay, and work. Maybe not so much lubrication when I'm doing podcasts. I don't know why that didn't work. Seriously, dude, that don't make no sense. Let's try singing. All right, no, maybe, dude, I have no idea. Oh, there you go. What are you doing? Now I sound like that girl who was drunk off her ass. That sounded better. And for the last time. Por fin. Okay, 4 minutes in already. The reason for this is because I don't want to, a wise man once said, don't date your podcast by being too much into current affairs, but mine are obviously always influenced by that. So there were 2 quite prominent public figures at the moment, both, as we'd say in the Caribbean, catching their ass. They were both people who were well established, both had like daytime TV shows, and basically both of them have had public opinion turn against them. Quite massively. And I've got to say, I was really quite surprised. Because like I said, they both got daytime shows, and I know that is bullshit, right? We've been saying this for years. I was going to say 100 years, but these people haven't been around for 100 years, neither have I. But we've been saying this for years. It's like Beyonce and Rihanna could come out wearing the exact same outfit. and Rihanna is a dirty little half-dressed slut hole, and Beyonce is artistic and elegant and fashionable. And that's such a sad reality, and it's so true of so many walks in life that, to cut a long story short, some people just get adapt. Some people just get away with doing stuff that other people can't get away with doing because we let them. We decide that these people, we like them, and because we like them, we justify whatever the hell it is they done. We justify it. Whereas when somebody else does it, particularly someone we don't like, we vilify it. We're like, that's the worst thing in the world that could have ever done. And you could literally see, like in a comedy, because for sure it happens in real life, like somebody, like I said, would have, a picture of Rihanna, and they'll be like, oh my God, what a whore. What a terrible example to our young girls. What is she teaching the children? Look at her dressed like a strumpet. Has she no shame? How dare she go out and do that? Good Lord, her music's, her music isn't even an issue now. It's all about sexualized. And that would be a Beyonce fan. They'd be like, oh yeah, but Beyonce wore an outfit last week. Oh, well, yeah, but if Beyonce wore it, well, there is an elegant aspect to it, and it is quite stylish, really. I'm sure if Beyonce wore it, it was really about empowering females and taking control of their body. And it is literally that hypocritical, that stark hypocrisy, that someone would literally in the same sentence go from, vilifying something, go from hating something or ridiculing something to promoting it, accepting it, and actually saying it's a wonderful thing just based on whoever the hell it was doing it. So, I was quite surprised because I thought at least one of these personalities I've seen quite a while has been around daytime TV in the UK for at least, I don't know, 7 to 10 years. So I was like really surprised how quickly public opinion changed on them. What I was thinking to myself was, isn't that amazing though? Like, likes define your career. Like, y'all know I was like in full hypocrisy mode. I struggle with social media. Here I am doing a podcast which I promote through social media. I have businesses that I promote through social media, and I have businesses which very much rely on social media. But I struggle with it because I'm not from a social media age. I'm from a pre-social media age. So it kind of, it really does, well, it really jumped into my mind this morning having breakfast, how much your career is defined by likes. So it's so funny because, there you are on TV doing your job, presenting, entertaining people, and people have to like you. So it's just like, I'm using Facebook a lot now, I know Instagram people, I bet that's the same shit, press little heart. It's just likes. Everyone's like, yeah, I like what you're doing, I like what you're doing, I like what you're doing. But the thing is, the public are so fickle. And to be really honest with you, to cut the shit, the public are both thick and fickle. Or fickle. Or fecal. But they are. Jimmy, I know I shouldn't insult the public because I'm trying to make money out of y'all. But no, they are. You know what I mean? The public are thick. I've been saying for many, many years, man, like, don't let the public vote. And it was like, how could he say that? I'm like, dude, all you've got to do is watch X Factor or Dancing with the Stars, what they call it in England, whatever it's called, Come Dancing, and you know not to let the public vote because you will have a show based around someone's ability to perform a task, whether it's to sing a song or to perform a dance, and the public will vote for the guy who does it the worst because they find him entertaining, or even worse, like an X Factor, because they like his backstory. And again, it's brought another thing which I'll show you a podcast on, which is this fucking horrendous reality we have where, people's backstories are now what they sell. They don't sell their talent. They sell their backstories. And actually, fun enough, this is very much what played into this because what happened was, and I'm just going to say, because I didn't really follow the story, I just sort of fall out. So, apparently somebody was being a bit shitty, and the public thought that this, very famous star was being rude to them and accused them of bullying. But what it really came down to is this person who I could just see for the 30 seconds I've got caught on the TV when I've tried to research what it was about, was a rude and aggressive person. I mean, I could just fucking see they were like that anyway. You know what I mean? Sure, they were rude and aggressive, they were mad at this person, but it was very clear to see that's just their personality. And this person just called them out and being rude and aggressive. But then they said, oh, but you don't know my life. I was so badly treated as a child. I had such a horrendous childhood. And the moment you come in with that fucking sob story, man, it's your free pass. and you'll probably hear me saying the same thing, but I really resent it because I don't look for a fucking free pass about my fucked up childhood. That's my business. I might talk about it if it's relevant to what we're trying to achieve or relevant to what I'm trying to express to you or get you to understand, or relevant to me trying to help you empower yourself within a certain, aspect of life. But I don't just wear that shit like a fucking badge. And the funniest thing is, as you get older, you realize that, your fucking fucked up childhood wasn't that fucked up because you didn't grow up in Calcutta or in a Catholic school, a Catholic boys' school with a fucked up Monsignor coming around at 2 in the morning, or do you know what I mean? Or you wasn't trafficked into sex trade when you were sold by your parents. So yeah, your shit's fucked up. My shit was fucked up, but you gotta put this shit in perspective, man. It's a wide world, man. Baby, it's a wide world. And baby, it's fucked up out there. There's some horrendous stories out there. So when people tell me about how bad their childhood was, man, and I know y'all can get mad at me, but the point I'm making is this, like I always say this, right? I try and remind myself not to talk like bad man on the podcast. But the reality is, no matter how bad you are or how bad you think you are, there's a bad man. We all done know that. That's why I say don't start trouble. Do you know what I mean? Because no matter how bad you think you are, there's a man out there who's badder. So what I'm saying is, I'm sorry for your fucked up childhood. I'm sure it was way more fucked up than mine, but kind of keep it in perspective, because trust me, there's somebody whose childhood was way more fucked up than yours. And they ain't crying about it. They're not telling everybody it's the reason why they can't go forward and achieve nothing. And they're certainly not going up on TV bitching about it, telling everybody that's the reason why we must all cuddle them and love them and let them do what the fuck they want. And what I didn't like, honestly, was this person was really saying it's the reason why my attitude is the way I am. And I think I did a podcast not already about the worst excuse for bad behavior. It's just a version of that. Oh, that's just them. That's just them. He's a buff. That's just them. He's tough nose. That's just him. He's aggressive. That's just them. They had a bad childhood. Well, other people had bad childhoods and didn't feel the need to use that as an excuse to be rude or mistreat people or expect more from life or expect more from others. They just sucked it up and got the fuck on with it. So I ain't trying to hear your bullshit. And I repeat again, I'm not dismissing what people may have suffered. I'm dismissing the concept and the idea that because of what you've suffered, you now are owed something from the world. You ain't owed shit because someone suffered a hell of a lot more than you and asked for much less. So don't come to me with your sob story. If I tell you the time, if I could jump into the TV when I was watching X Factor and just bitch slap them contestants, but I know it's part of the program. They were told to do that. I like James Arthur, but I'm fucking sure James Arthur just won because of, well, I was in the bed sit and, me, the man's dead, blah, I was in the bed sit, blah, this was my dream, and you get me, I just want to play my guitar and fuck, like, TV presenters and, fuck out of here, man, just play some fucking music. I mean, that's what you're here for. Play some music and sing some shit. I don't hear about your livelihood. Because if you want to talk about difficulty as a musician, start with the blues and just roll on up. Do you know what I mean? Talk about Prince. I ain't even know nothing about Prince's life until he passed away. Rest in peace, icon. I know nothing about his life. Do you know what I mean? And you know why I didn't know nothing about his life? Well, firstly, why I wasn't a fan. But secondly, because I never heard him crying and bitching about it every time he fucking stepped up to sing a song. He used it as fuel and stepped up. And the only thing I knew about Prince was his talent. I was not a fan, but I always respected that guy's talent. Like, just because you don't make music I like, don't mean I don't respect how fucking amazingly talented you are. I don't get that twisted. I might not like that shit, but I'm somebody who loves music and I respect that talent. And in the day and age I live in, I'm so grateful for the fact that I didn't have to hear this guy tell me how fucked up his shit was every time we went to sing a song, which is where it's at now. So, the public are thick and the public are fickle, man. Don't let them vote. But this is what we're having now. And the thing is, it was bad enough when it was just people voting on game shows, for want of a better word, talent shows. It was bad enough, that the talent show's vote was swayed by the backstory of the person. But now this social media zeitgeist, this click like, is now swaying into people's careers because we're so fucking used to it as the public that it's like, oh, hold on a minute, I liked you because you were the presenter of this program, but now I don't like you because I think you're bullying this other person who's got a better backstory. They got a better pain in their backstory. And the more cynical people, like if I was her press agent, I would be like, yeah, you just got to clap back. So you better go and tell them how you was abused as a child and how you never had no food to eat, and do you know what I mean? And clap back and try and get I mean. So basically we're now no longer talking about what you can do, no longer talking about what you're presenting, what your talent is. We're just selling backstories. Backstory versus backstory, and who can get the most likes because of sympathy. It's just a whole steaming pile of horseshit. And the point I was going to make really is that, if your career is defined by likes, then you're fucked, says the man who has a podcast. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that, at some point I'm going to provide some value. In fact, I'm hoping there's some value provided in this podcast. But my point is, as I said, if you're really just defined by likes, the reason you're fucked is because eventually the wind will change. And you can't avoid the wind changing. And this is a big, concept. This is free thinking, but I want to do this again in business brain as well. In understanding that the wind is going to change, and that's why this is called "What Goes Up." It's the oldest cliche in the book, but it's so true. And when the wind changes, you kind of need to be prepared for that, because I've read so many. I'm not really a big reader, right? But I've heard so many snippets of biographies where I heard them when people were talking about, like, when it blew up, when it started working for them, they just thought this was never going to end. And it's not just like young ghetto kids who just started making money from basketball or, American football or other sports or music or selling drugs. Ain't just them. It's all kinds of people, business people. Yo, my business blew up. 1 year, all of a sudden, I was Fortune 500. I thought this would never end. I was spending money like it was going out of fashion. I had a conversation with a personal friend who had millions running through his bank account, who's like broke like me. I was like, bro, how did you get broke? I've been saying for like the last 10 years, give me $1 million, I will never be broke again. How could you have had millions flying through your bank account and now you're broke? How did that happen? But the thing is, people do that. They honestly have some success and think, wow, this is how it's going to be from now on. It will never go away. But eventually the wind will change. So what's the point of this podcast? Well, actually, really just to rant about the fact that, people's careers now are so defined around less of what they do and more of, their public acceptance, how much we like them. And don't get me wrong, I know there's nothing new under the sun. I always go back to them. I'm always hearing people tell me some bullshit, real hip hop versus mumble rap, and or any of the other millions of versions of, the kids nowadays are so much worse than they were before. Like, look at them out in the streets killing each other with knives. Like, yeah, what the fuck you think the mods and the rockers was doing in the 60s? Tickling each other on Brighton Pier. You know what I mean? Like, grow up or read a history book. If you don't like to read like me, Google some shit before you start talking bullshit. You know what I mean? I ain't saying things are better. I'm just saying they're not necessarily specifically worse if you do your research. But people love to say that because people love to talk shit. So, at the end of the day, it just seems to me that, it has always been like this. My best example, I like some of them I like, but again, it was I call it like a Beyonce character. Beyonce. But I just put a little bit more of a European flair to her name, Beyonce. Yeah, was Marilyn Monroe. She was one of those public figures who, as they have said, hit that balance between all the men wanted to be with her, all the women wanted to be here. And there are a couple of male examples of that as well. And once you have that connection with the public, you can do a lot of shit that other people would be completely, utterly vilified for, maybe even lose their career for, and come away from it unscathed. Kylie Minogue's another example, like, just a public sweetheart. Now, Kylie Minogue, I kind of checked for her, and I never liked when she came out because I just thought her music was bullshit. But, what I respect her career, and I really understand that, she really, 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 I'm not saying she played the public. I think she has a natural personality and charm that people, took to. But it's amazing how, I'm not saying they did, but, you just know that if Kylie Minogue and Victoria Beckham had done the same shit, they'd be digging the hole for Victoria Beckham's career. Whereas Kylie Minogue will be like, okay, even if we're gonna have to dish you, it's gonna be a light diss. It's gonna be over soon. But we make that choice. So people are being treated based on likes, not based on what they're actually doing, but based on how much we overall like them. Let's be honest with you, that's the truth of life. This is why every business, sales manual will tell you you're going to go into sales, clean yourself up, make yourself more presentable. If you're not a very good speaker, take some elocution classes or practice your speeches, because people sell more if they're liked. And, they always say that, buyers are looking for salespeople, not for products. Do you know what I mean? Same thing if you're dating. Well, that should be a fucking no-brainer. Don't turn up in your sweats, stinking, unkempt, unshaved, men and women, unshaved armpits. And you know what I'm saying? We already know that you put your best foot forward. So it's all based on likes. It's all based on, how we perceive each other. But it's just so interesting to me that now you can have a career. And I think that's what I find so frustrating about it. I get that, likes are very fundamental, and how much you like someone, how people present themselves is so fundamental to everything we do. I get that. But what blows my mind is basically how you can be actually doing something and contributing value, and the wind can change on you so quickly that it's like all that shit you did is just fucking gone. And with these two particular TV characters, like, their career is literally gone overnight. And I'm not even getting into it, so you could well easily guess who it is. It kind of fucking doesn't matter to me. Jimmy, I ain't a fan of these people. What I really would notice was that how their career was just fucking gone overnight, because all of a sudden, the wind changed, or they said the wrong thing, and all that value they've been putting into, their craft, into the companies, gone overnight. And it'd be the same if it was a musician, all them years, and you see this, all those years that these musicians have worked for people, gone overnight. I mean, you kind of expect that, because these businesses don't give a shit. Like, Adidas was going to drop Kanye West when he started talking that slavery was a choice shit. Do you know what I mean? Not because they give a fuck that he thinks that slavery was a choice, or that he's off his meds. They were just wondering how it was going to affect the bottom line of the Yeezy line, how it was going to affect the sale. And we understand that as well. And that's really what's so funny about it, is that business is always going to check the bottom line, and I'm not going to hate that because I'm a businessman. And I understand that if you have someone promoting your brand, they're only there promoting your brand because it makes your brand money. So if they start doing stuff that makes your brand lose money, you don't need them promoting your brand anymore. So yeah, we understand this. But it's just amazing how the public are now so fickle, that somebody who would put so much value into the public. I'm thinking about these people like, they had fans. These people just like fly-by-night people. They had fans, and they were on this program. One I'm thinking in particular is this program, like I said, probably 7 to 10 years. So the regular watchers of the show for 7 to 10 years turned against them like fucking overnight. Like, there's no loyalty, no respect for the value, no respect, no concept of, okay, you fucked up, you made a mistake. Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. Make an apology, man. That was out of order. But you know what? You've been representing, you've been holding us down for the last 10 years. You've been doing your thing. I've been enjoying your contribution to the show, therefore your contribution to my life. So I'm not going to just discard you overnight. But that's not the way it is, man. It's like, you go from like to dislike overnight. You go from hot to not overnight. And you really, really need to be prepared for it, without a doubt. So here's I just jotted a couple of things down this morning. If you're in this business, or any kind of business where, the wind can change, because I was really thinking about this person's career, like, seriously, like, they're fucked. Like, what's going to happen if they haven't prepared for this sudden change? Because, see, for me, it's different, because it's not like they just got money or they just got famous and they start blowing money and then they all fell apart. And, no, they've been doing this for a long time. So within respect, you can imagine how they've budgeted around this income, because this is what they do. There might be a TV personality, but it's like a day job. So it's almost like walking to work and they're going, yeah, you're fired. What do you mean? I've been doing this for 10 years. I'll budget around this job. Yeah, sorry about that. But that person over there said that you were rude, so you're fired. So, do you know what I mean? I was really thinking about it from more that perspective. And I said, well, back to the business side of things, the first thing you have to do when you start making money is, now I ain't been good at doing this myself, so I'm being a hypocrite. So I had to really think about this. Once you start making money, as soon as you get past subsistence, you need to invest half of what you earn. So until you hit subsistence, there's no point talking about investing, because you're going to have debts and you're going to have, obligations to meet that you're not meeting because you haven't reached the subsistence level. In this society, subsistence isn't like, what we learned in economics in school, where you grow a couple of vegetables and eat that and you're good. Subsistence in this level is your kids can go to school, you can buy your kids books, you can put petrol in your car, you can get your car MOT or ITV or whatever, get your car on the road, you can pay your rent, you can buy clothes. You know what I mean? Not buying about flash clothes, just clothes for your back so you can go to work in the morning. You got your internet, because most of what people do nowadays in some way requires the internet if you're doing any kind of work. That's the new levels of subsistence. And once you got to the point where you've got that covered, you have to invest everything over subsistence. Sure, treat yourself a little bit, but you got to start investing. Why? Because if the wind changes on you for some dumb shit like what I think perceived this is, where all the value you put into the product and the brand over years is completely dismissed, you need something to live on. You can't be just turning around going, damn, I didn't see this coming, and now I'm going to be going into debt because I've got all these obligations, financial obligations, based on this secure income I had, which I thought was going to continue based on the value I was putting into this company or product. And all of a sudden I said the wrong thing, and boom, dislike. I got 2,000 dislikes, couple of Ofcom complaints, and I don't have a job anymore. So I say that you got to invest, and I hope these particular people, I hope they invested. I hope they don't, wake up this morning or tomorrow morning and go, I'm fucked because I ain't got an income, because I've just lost my job and I ain't got no other form of income. I hope they invested so they have some money that they can rely on while they get their shit together, because sometimes the storm passes. When you are talented and you're are giving good value, someone else, and there's a very famous, many famous precedents for this is what I'm trying to say. Other people are just sitting around waiting for your company to get cold feet and to cut you serendipitously because of a bit of bad press, and they snap you up. I was gonna say Russell Grant. I can't remember the guy's name now. Jonathan Ross, a prime example among many, 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 many. Who said something, caught a bit of heat, company got cold feet, dropped him. Next company was just lying in the cut, ready to snap him up, because they know how much value he brings. So you want to be stupid about it and not weather the storm for the person who's brought you so much money and value, which is what these companies really should do. They should weather the storm with these people because of, morality of loyalty, and secondly, common sense business loyalty, that you're much better off with somebody who you've weathered the storm with, who brought you so much value for so many years, that you can get them back on top and bringing you back that kind of money, than drop them like a hot potato when the first bit of bad attention comes to them and go looking for someone else to build back up into that position. It's kind of really bad business in my opinion. So anyway, I hope that they invested. I have this quote. It's not my quote. I stole it from a rapper. His name's NBA Youngboy, and NBA stands for Never Broke Again. So I love that. That's my view on life, man. You should be never broke again, young boy or young girl, young woman, young man, old ass woman, old ass man. You should be NBA, never broke again. And how did you do that? The moment you pass subsistence, you start investing. So if someone turns around and drops like a hot potato, you actually have a way of sustaining yourself and living, and you're secure for the future. So frankly, once you pass subsistence, hold back on buying that Rolex. You know what I mean? Hold back on buying that custom car. Make some investments that are going to bring in some money. And in line with that, the second part of that I would say is have a backup plan. If effectively what I'm saying is, if you've got status, particularly kind of think about these people, you should use your status, but to build something of your own. Now, everybody in business knows this, and it's hard. We talk about this so much, man. Like, I got a couple of businesses. I don't think I work hard, and I probably work 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week on average. You know what I mean? And I don't even think I work hard. But you got 2 or 3 businesses, then you got no time for none. So it ain't that easy if you got like a big company and you're doing the press and the promotion and you're doing the show and you're doing whatever you gotta do and silly bits that fall off the sides of it. But again, that's the problem of having all your eggs in one basket. That you're taking that risk that this company's gonna take care of you, weather the storm with you, and then give you a golden handshake and a watch and a pension. Not in this day and age, boy, ain't no one doing that. So you need to have something for yourself. So again, in line with the first point, just to kind of, parallel point to it, have a separate business, have a clothing line, have something else, that may still survive with your fans who stick with you, even if your main employer drops you, because you've built a name, you've built an audience, you've built an interest, and you really should be able to still monetize that, even if the place you did it decides to drop you. In fact, it might even help you out a lot. And if it's a problem, and if it was me, I would also do the opposite. I'd also have, again, with the invest in something that doesn't rely on my name. So maybe I'd have a GGP clothing line. If I was like on a major radio station doing good numbers, I might put out a GGP clothing line because that's in line with the promotion of myself as a brand. But then I'd also have some coin operated laundromats. Because if for some reason something kicked off and the GGP name was dirt, and nobody knows who owns the laundromats, but them coins are going in every weekend. You know what I mean? And I'm getting my profit out. So it's all good. It's just back to investing. And I'll come to the last one now, because I think the alcohol is one of the reasons why I really isn't so concerned with how long this is taking. And the alcohol is most definitely the reason why I say things like I really isn't so concerned. Like I was sitting on a porch somewhere in Louisiana. Prepare for it mentally. One of the most defining moments of my life, and there have been that many, so it will come up over and over again in these podcasts, is I had someone not close to me, but there was something happened and it was traumatic, and somebody, around me was really grieving, and it led me to thinking, is that true, or did it work the other way around? No, that's bullshit. It's the other way around. I had discovered I was doing my surgeon for truth, and I was reading all the major religious texts, and I read the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, and it had this profound effect on me because the book basically starts off by saying, and I paraphrase obviously, dude, everybody's going to die. Every living thing is going to die, but most definitely every single human being is going to die. In the West, we know it just like they do in the East. The only difference is our approach to it. In the West, although we know it is absolutely guaranteed going to happen, we just put our heads in the sand, brush it under the carpet, pretend it ain't going to happen. And when it happens, we get all shocked. And with that shock comes distress and grief and hurt and pain and all this kind of stuff. Whereas in the East, it's accepted at a very early stage of life. It's accepted, it's understood, and it's included in your daily life. It's included in the way you live. It's included in the way you relate to your family on an almost daily basis. The inevitability of the fact that you're going to pass away, and this made perfect sense to me. So I incorporated it into my life to the extent that it's one of the first things I told my children. Because I'm not the kind of guy who just reads something and go, yeah, that makes sense, and ignore it. I was like, no, that makes absolute, complete, utter sense. Nobody knows the hour or the minute. So I can't be like, yeah, I'll get around to that when they're in a teenage. I'm going to be here to do that when they're in a teenage. So I did it when they were young. Do you know what I mean? It made perfect sense to me. And I think the same with failure. But failure is a bit different and will probably be dealt with most definitely in some business brain stuff. But without a doubt, mentally preparing for the wind changing, for your hundreds of thousands of likes to turn into dislikes because one of your stunts went too far, and all of a sudden everybody hates you because people are that fickle. Understanding that if your business model depends on people liking you strongly, then you need to know people are fickle. And the same shit they like you for this week might be the same shit they hate you for next year. Ask Benny Hill, which we can't. Rest in peace. I saw an interesting documentary on him, and I'm sure there's lots of discussions you talked about the sexism, etc., etc. And I'll have a hell of a lot more to add to the fake political correctness, CRE, Quango. We just make money by bullshitting and not actually helping people, but actually making the whole situation 100 times worse. That is so another podcast. I will do that one another day. But my point is, the documentary on Benny Hill really pointed out that no matter what you thought of his humor, and I understand many women were offended by it and found it offensive and affected their lives negatively. The point I took that was interesting was how crushed he was when the wind changed on him. When the wind changed and English postcard, seaside, titillation humor, Frankie Howard humor, when the wind changed and that all of a sudden was being derided as like the most obnoxious, dangerous sexism on the planet, he was crushed. He just couldn't see it coming. And he went from being an international star to being a fucking pariah. Like, it must have felt like overnight. I kind of remember when Benny Hill got banned. I was like, all right. Do you know what I mean? All of a sudden, like, the no more Benny Hill shit. So, I remember that they really pointed out just how crushed he was. Because, again, I'm not trying to get into the rights and wrongs of it in this particular podcast, but it was very easy to understand how somebody whose whole humor, whose whole genre, which he pretty much fucking built on his own, he was like wily with that. Like, he carried that whole shit on his back. I don't think there was anybody else anything like him. He built this style, or didn't build it, but he adopted this style, like, as I call it, English seaside postcard humor. And and he dragged it into the mainstream and made it popular all around the world. And all of a sudden, he was this pariah, and it broke him because he wasn't mentally prepared for the fact that people could be that fickle and switch up on him that quickly. And it's interesting because the reason I say that is because there was an interesting program I saw just the other day. It's a Hollywood Reporter program, and now I don't know what it's called because I watch it on Spanish TV. So they rename shit on Spanish TV all the time. It's about the Emmys, but basically it's a round table. And like I've seen two, they had one with comedians and one with actors. And the one that I'm talking about particularly now had Michael B. Jordan. It had the guy from Dumb and Dumber, not Jim Carrey, but the other guy. And I'm not gonna get his name. It blows my mind because like some actors that whole thing where their face so strongly, but you've never really got the name. But anyway, the guy who played the teacher in Whiplash, he's been in like a million movies. I'm saying, where you turn comedies, serious movies, all kinds of shit. Really good round table. A couple of other really good guys as well. And one of the things that one of the guys said, right, the question that the presenter asked was, if you could go back to your younger self and ask your younger self anything, rephrase, if you could go back to your younger self and tell your younger self anything, what would you tell yourself? And two people said things that were very similar. One of who had obviously had some ups and downs in his career said, I tell myself, and again I'm paraphrasing, to not get too caught up in the troughs. Your career will have peaks and troughs, and if when you have a trough in your career, you start to believe that negative shit, that's when the depression comes. If you start to believe those horrible critical opinions of your play or of your movie, if you get to a point where all of a sudden you've gone from being like the Hollywood's darling to no one will cast you, and you start to believe it's because you really haven't got the ability to do that anymore, then you're really going to do yourself some serious damage. So he's like, if I could go back, I'd tell my younger self, don't get too caught up in them troughs. The peaks will come again. Just concentrate on your art. And then the guy, again, sorry I don't know his name, but I don't do show notes. But he was the blonde guy, not the non-Jim Carrey character in Dumb and Dumber. And he said, a very similar thing in a very similar vein. He just said, if I would go back and tell myself, that you have to respect your art, I'm paraphrasing again, and just always remember that no matter what people around you are doing or saying, you just focus on your art and you focus on being a good actor. That's what you got to try and focus on. Not worry about, how much people are loving you, how much people are hating you, because that shit's transient. You got to focus on just knowing that you love your art and you want to stick to your art. Now, if these guys are listening, hey, it would be lovely. I have so much doubt. If you are, or anyone else who knows them or saw the program, I'm sorry for butchering their words. I'm just trying to get a point across. I'm not trying to represent them. But that was roughly the point he was saying. And the reason that would bore out to me is because when it came to Michael B. Johnson, he kind of laughed a bit and he was a bit nervous and he didn't really have anything to say. And one of them was like, you got nothing to tell your younger self because, first the guy from Whiplash said, because the younger you's 11. And then the other guy goes, no, because you haven't put a foot wrong. And he was kind of, he was very charmed about that. And his response was charming. And he kind of smiled and stuff like that, because he has had a meteoric rise. But then what the guy from Dumb and Dumber said was, yeah, he goes, but here's the thing. Just remember this. He put his hand on his shoulder and he's like, if at some point the wind changes and all of a sudden you're starting to get some negative critical opinion or some of your movies don't do very well, he goes, just remember that you're still a good actor. Just remember that you are a good actor. Just because people don't like what you're doing right now, what you've done recently, what have you done for me lately, all that shit. Just remember that, the talent's in you. You are a good actor. Just keep hold of that. And I was like, and it was nice seeing this older guy put his hand on his shoulder. It was almost like the cameras weren't there. And it was just a moment. You know what I mean? It was really nice. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, if you're in that arena, man, you gotta be prepared. Now that's why I came into this with Idgaff Dilligaff, man. I'm like, I came into this with I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm looking at 50 and 50 is looking at me hard. So whatever I'm gonna be self-conscious and worried about, too insecure and too nervous about to do now, ain't getting done. Maybe on my next reincarnation. So I need to get up and do what I want to do. You know what I mean? So for all the haters, all the people who are gonna sit behind the keyboards, Illy Will Campbell. Sorry, dude. I just had to. But you know what I mean? Like I said, I already planned for that. 3 responses and I'm out. I ain't got no time to be like, drawn into your bullshit. But that's the whole point about being mentally prepared. Now, obviously, nobody knows because hindsight's 2020. I don't know how I would feel if shit blows up. I know I've had some modest success in the past, and I've had people loving me and hating me. And I think I was such an arrogant fuck when I was younger. If you think I'm arrogant now, you have no idea. I think a lot of that was water off a duck's back. You know what I mean? The people who hated. But then again, I was on a mission, so I kind of have to worry about the people who hated because all it meant is that they weren't on a mission. Do you know what I mean? I was on a mission, so of course people would hate me if I was on a mission. Whereas it's kind of different to have people saying, I hate what you do. Like someone says, I hate your mission. It's like, okay, you don't like my mission. I want to, save donkeys and you don't think that's a good charity. That's fine. Yeah, well, cool. But if someone says, nah, man, you're putting on a variety show to save donkeys and your variety show shit, that's kind of a different. That's more like a personal insult to your ability, not what you're trying to achieve. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm kind of getting to. So I'm like, you just got to be prepared for that, man. I'm really prepared because if I hadn't come up with Idgaff, Dilligaff, not like I invented it, but if I hadn't decided to have that mindset, I probably wouldn't be making this podcast right now because I'd be so worried because I don't know I'm sensitive. I get up in my feelings and I don't want to have people dissing me, but I'm like, dude, just do you. Do you know what I mean? It's a big wide world, as people always say. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? If you do like it, I'm very glad to have been of service. Hit me up and let's keep the conversation going so I can continue to be of service. Because I'm enjoying doing it. So there's nothing better, what Andy Robbins call it, a class 1 experience, something that is good for you and good for others and serves the greater good. And I can't remember the 4th compartment of that. But, along those lines, if it's good for me because I like doing it and it's good for others because they enjoy me doing it and it serves the greater good because I'm not putting anything bad out into the world, I'm trying to put something good out into the world, then it's all good. So whoever don't like it, move the fuck away. You know what I mean? You don't have to consume it. I ain't kicking down your front door, putting on the earphones and tying you up in a chair and making you listen. But, you got to be prepared. So if the wind changes, that's all I can say. You got to be prepared. And it's kind of funny, I suppose, me not being in that position, giving that advice. But I suppose I'm giving the advice, obviously, to you, in whatever endeavor you're thinking of doing, go into it with that preparation. Go into that with those 3 things. Firstly, if I get money, I'm hoping you get money. And if you get money, don't be like, yeah, Jake the jeweler. You know what I mean? You might want to be calling Seth the broker. Call Jake the jeweler. I'm maybe going to do another podcast now another day. Call Jake the jeweler with the money you make from your investments. But don't take your first couple paychecks and do that. I know we all do because Kanye said in his first album, I'm so insecure. That's why I got involved with this bullshit. Even Jay-Z said it. I ain't trying to blame my environment, but there's no reason why I be buying expensive chains. Yeah. We've heard you all moan about the reasons why you do it. Just don't. Because if the wind had changed in either of those guys, They'd be sitting in a trailer park with $2,000 worth of gold around their neck. You know what I mean? So don't do it. Make some investments. Secondly, have a secondary business. Use your platform to have something else. So whatever platform you're on, if that gets taken away from you, you've used your elevation to have something that belongs to you that no one can take away. And like I said, and as an adjunct to that, you do it with something that doesn't involve your name. So go into real estate and don't put your face in the billboard. Just invest in the company. Or like I said, coin operated laundromats, or just anything. Think laterally, anything that makes money. And you have something else. If the wind changes and there's a season when you ain't popular, like those actors were talking about, when all of a sudden people are saying that you can't do the shit that you work so hard to do, the people aren't appreciating the art that you're putting out or whatever, you got something to fall back on. Until you till you come and see it again. And with acting, you see it so much. People who disappear off the face of the earth, so it seems, because they're just not getting cast anymore. They got typecast, or new faces come in, or they killed it so much that there's no need for them anymore in that space. Gotta have something else to do. A lot of these guys feel like they're going to theatre and do other things that's still related to the industry and they make a living. But some people really suffer, so have something that's a backup. So even if you're suffering, you're earning. You're not starving. And then, like I said, and lastly, try not to suffer, man. Go into it prepared. Go into it prepared for the troughs as well as the highs. I mean, truth be told, you should go into prepared for the highs, and the first two kind of prepare you for the highs, because if you've already made a decision to invest once you reach above subsistence, that's going to help you from fucking all your money away. And then if you've also got the decision to kind of go into secondary businesses, that's going to help you out a lot as well, with the way you spend your time and your money and your focus, rather than just renting renting the top suite at the biggest hotel you can find and throwing a 6-day party. Which pretty cool. And if you actually do that, I'll leave my number there. You can give me a shout, man. I don't want to Floyd Mayweather money throwing parties. You know what I mean? But I'll probably be asking you if you invested. Like, have you invested before you throw this party? You didn't with the profit, right? Okay, that's good. So like I said, and then be prepared, man. So mentally you're prepared for when these thick and fickle and fecal people who said they were your fans, because like I said, man, I know that the whole podcast concept someone said was like 100 core fans, 100,000 core fans. I like that. It's actually one of the reasons I got back into content creation. I saw other people do it, and I love that concept. Find 1,000 people who really dig what you do, because surely you're one of someone else's 1,000, and that's a sustainable model. Do you know what I mean? Where you can give value to people, and they're happy to pay you for the value, and it's all good. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of these people, man, you blow up to a certain point, they're just dick riders. They just jump on you because someone else said that you were hot, or they saw your picture, or they saw your interview, or they saw, do you know what I mean? And that ain't bad. That's all good for you and your business. But the point I'm making is those are the people who will drop you like a stone out of a plane. So if you start believing that they're your 1,000 core fans, then when you get dropped, you start believing that you got 13 million core fans because you're blowing up on Insta and your name's hot at the moment. Then when they drop you so hard, it's gonna hurt. So like I said, be mentally prepared for it, man. So anyway, that was my also slightly tipsy free thinking stroke business brain podcast. I don't even know what it was. Because I never really thought about it. I just came up with the idea this morning after seeing this article on the TV on my internet feed last night. I'm thinking, damn, they went in on her like that so hard after all the years of entertainment she's provided. For who? Because so and so said what? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And it just got my brain thinking. So comment, man. It's so funny because I know you probably can't comment where I got my shit set up. But I'm gonna try and arrange this so we can turn these things into a discussion, right? It's free thinking, so it's not meant to be me monologuing at you, without some kind of engagement. I really want to build this platform so it can be a community, where we can have take some of these concepts and make discussions, and hopefully. I'm trying to stop dissing this kid, and hopefully discussions where we don't use capital letters to shout at each other, and we can agree to disagree and still walk away with respect. That's what free thinking is. So it's the Grand Gordo Papa. This is the GGP LS channel. This has been Free Thinking, and I'm out.
It gaff till a gaff. It gaff till a gaff. I'm illy with the till a gaff. Illy with the till a gaff. Nit gaff, nit gaff. Nit gaff, nit gaff.